again, guys, from Tampa Bay. Today I am riding the 2016 BMW S1000XR. This is kind of like a cross between the S1000RR and a GS. So it's got a really wicked engine in an adventure slash upright frame, and it has a quick shifter. That's cool. So all I'm doing, I'm not touching the clutch, I'm just tapping the shifter up. It automatically does everything. For downshifting, you just roll off the throttle, tap down, and it automatically shifts down. Very nice power, awesome exhaust note. This happens to have the Akrapovic exhaust on it. So let's go through this guy. First of all, rider's triangle. Very much like any other adventure bike or the FZ series or the FJ series, FJ09 I should say, from Yamaha. Sloped forward seat. Yep, I'm very used to using the clutch. I'm gonna have to get over that for this test drive. However, I'm not sliding forward because this seat is like, a combination of a rubber neoprene and suede. So it's really holding my butt. I'm in jeans and it's really holding my butt solid. I'm just having fun with this quick shifter. It seems to really want to pick up about 4,500 on the power band. I've got quite a bit of buzz through the bars. Now the guys did warn me that in this mode, this has a lot of different modes as far as power and suspension and all that it would be buzzy in Dynamic Pro mode, which is their balls to the walls. I'm going to put the clutch in here to go down to first and sit at this light. Their balls to the walls, everything unlimited, and oh my god, is this a tall bike. Okay, I've got a 32-inch inseam, I'm 6'2", and I am not flat-footing this bike in boots. So be aware of that. This is a few inches taller than my FJR. So if you're on the short side, you're going to have an issue. I was not used to that. But it's barely manageable for my height to tippy-toe it. Very interesting. Alright, now I'm going to try and play with these modes here as soon as I get to a little bit of a straightaway. I'm going to take you guys through one of our local curvy routes. Mode. Okay, now I've got Rain Road Dynamic and Dynamic Pro. So I'm looking for how to actually adjust it down. I was assuming this is going to be a little button. Maybe I just hit it again. Oh, there we go. So what it does is it's got a little black bar underneath the selection. And that changes it. So let me get around this corner here and I'll look down again. I think I landed on road. Yes, now I'm in road mode. Stay off the clutch. Oh yeah, that completely killed the vibration in the bars. Very interesting. They said it does remap the engine. Oh, here comes some water over the road. I'm gonna dip down here so I don't screw up my camera. Or rather, get water all over it for you guys. Okay, there we go. Now in road mode, this thing is silky smooth. It's got a good exhaust bite to it, but again, that has more to do with the aftermarket pipe on it, so I can't comment on the stock sound, but it's got a lot of torque. It runs here in 6th, pretty much like the FJ09 with that new Yamaha triple cross-plane crank engine. Very smooth. It really wants to get up and go. I'm gonna go down here. Really good brakes. Right now, kind of braking. There is zero hesitation. Let's do a second gear pull. I'm at 25 miles an hour. Okay. From 4,000 on, it starts pulling harder and harder. It does not stop pulling. I don't think I quite hit the red line, but it was continuing to get faster. There's another jump about 6,000 RPMs when it just goes. So now I'm at 42. It was starting to power wheelie when I hit 9,000. Front end was coming up just slightly, just holding the throttle open. Obviously no clutch, no herky-jerkies, it just goes. Let's go down in first. This is probably going to want to come up. Yep, that was coming right up off the ground. So very light, extremely torquey. This one hits its terminal velocity very quickly. A very, very playful package. Short front end, fairly steep rake. Handling is fairly light, but it does feel top heavy. It feels like this tank is way up there. It feels like a much bigger bike, if that makes any sense, even though it's really a tiny little bike. It's very quiet until you get on the gas. Just going through these twisties here. It's smooth. Holding the line very well. Instant torque. No matter what RPM I'm at, as long as I'm geared down a little bit here. Let's try it up in... Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if it won't let me upshift because of the speed or the mode. Maybe a combination thereof. But it wouldn't let it quick shift up into 6th gear when I was going slower there. So it must have a speed lock so you don't lug the engine. Let's try it again. Down to 44. I did it that time. It could be I just didn't nail it hard enough with my boot. Let's try a roll on at 6. Tom's going to go by me now. He's going to have some fun. Yeah, right now, kind of braking. Let's go from 25 in top gear, 6th gear. Look at that. 70, that's top gear. Rolling on. 100. That's a combination of a lot of torque, a lot of horsepower, and a lightweight bike. Those three combined, you can do pretty much whatever you want, whenever you want. Of course, it didn't want to pop up in the air, but that's not what you want when you want to just go. So no worries about any kind of freeway passing power. You can play around with this and not have to shift through the gears a lot, but I'll tell you what, with this quick shifter, you're going to want to. It sounds fantastic above 4,000. It really opens up. I'm sure it would be different on the stock pipe as well, just probably not as interesting. Now it's got a nice little overrun backfire on deceleration here. I can barely hear it through my helmet. It probably sounds pretty cool outside the bike. Mirrors are excellent. They are large and they are wide. They're staying fairly clear. There's a little bit of vibration in them. Let's go into what they call dynamic mode. Let's see what the difference there is. I'm not Actually, it feels like it's... Ow, that was a big bug. It feels like it's stiffened up the rear suspension a little bit. This is fully linked between the suspension and engine modes through the mode button. So it does multiple things at once. Engine feels the same. Now I'm not 100% sure because I haven't researched this. The response feels the same off the cuff between road and dynamic. I would imagine there's probably a little difference between this and Dynamic Pro, but honestly I'm not a fan of that buzziness, so I'm just going to leave it right here. Dynamic still isn't quite as buzzy as Dynamic Pro. Let me go back into that just to test. Now back, oh man. I mean instantly, you can feel it right here on the bars where you press the button. It's just like somebody turns on the vibration button. So it must be adjusting the timing and the fueling. And then when you go into rain, you can feel it just kind of mellow out, even sitting here holding a speed. So I'll leave it in road. I like that a lot. Fairly floaty front end. It is on the adventure bike side, so it does have a lot of suspension travel, and you do feel that, especially when you accelerate. Where on a sport bike you would start to feel the wheel leaving the surface, this just extends, so it's mushy. I mean, I can bounce this thing going down the road. It's not a tight sport bike kind of ride. But on the other side of that equation, it's plush. It is very soft, and this thing is sucking me in. My legs, they are right into these little pockets. I was feeling to see if there's any kind of padding, because it kind of felt like there was, but there isn't. It's just a nice soft plastic. Man, it just screams insane top-end power. This is their S1000XR pedigree engine. Not as powerful, but man, you feel its guts. Beautiful, silky smooth. Oh, you know what? I think that quick shifter was limiting me because I was not on the throttle. Let me try to do it with no throttle. Yep, that's it. Okay, so you can only quick shift when you actually have some throttle going. It won't do it when you're off the throttle. Gotcha, that makes more sense. So there is no speed limit to that. Looks like we have a manually adjustable windscreen. It's actually not doing much. I have got a lot of wind noise through the helmet, even though my visor's down. I don't really feel it hitting me, except on the top of the helmet, but it's noisy. So don't expect a quiet kind of ride. And even getting down here, no difference. So I think of these more of a bug shield than anything, you know what I mean? Peg position's very good. It's directly under my knees, or under my hips, I guess in this case. They're actually scrunched up a little bit, and that's what really threw me when I put my foot down at that light, because they are so scrunched up, kind of like a sport bike. I didn't expect to have to extend my leg that far when I dropped down, but I guess that's par for the course for the adventure bike segment. Now, this is something that I'm interested in. It was on the top of my list because I hadn't ridden it yet. I think I'm looking for a little bit less adventure bike, a little bit more standard. Pretty much my benchmark for this segment, for what I'm looking to buy, is the FZ09. I have to say this engine has a lot more power, like it's not even close. Everyone says, and everyone's impressed by the torque of that Yamaha triple, but to me, they just haven't ridden a fast bike if they are that impressed with that engine. I mean, it's a great engine, don't get me wrong, but it's absolutely nothing like the power you're getting out of this. This is just raw torque and speed. It keeps going until 11,000 RPM. It does not even begin to slow down. It keeps getting faster. And then you shift and it starts all over. In road mode here, man, this thing is just soaking up the bumps. Suspension is plush. This is a beautiful ride. I'm going over all these tar snakes, hitting all the little bumps. Nothing. It doesn't care. Riding like a Cadillac, baby. It's beautiful. I'd like to gear down and pass all these guys, but there's usually a speed trap up here, so I'm going to be a little calmer. Now, obviously, it's a ride-by-wire. It's not a hydraulic clutch, however, it's light as a feather. I'm not even sure if it's... Man, I feel absolutely zero resistance. I mean, it feels like an electronic switch, you know? I do not feel a spring tension at all on that clutch lever. That's how light it is. But obviously, you're not using it much except when you come to a stop anyway. Got cruise control, ABS. There's a suspension setting where you can customize what each of the presets will do for your suspension, so you can change it. It's not locked in by the factory. Turn signals, horn. Let's try the horn. Oh, pathetic little horn. Terrible, but you know what, par for the course. Got a trip computer with some info. Grip warmers, very nice. Always appreciated. You know what, even living in Florida, I do hit them in the winter. Sometimes I'll go out early in the morning and you know what, it's 30, 40 degrees. And on the freeway, if you're taking a trip, grip warmers are awesome. We have an adjustable brake lever, a non-adjustable clutch lever. Let's go back down here. Head on back down the road here to the dealer. No vibration at idle. Oh man, that's tall. That's interesting. In road mode, I can flat foot it. So the Dynamic Pro that I was in before may raise the suspension. That's probably why I felt the difference in the rear suspension. So it is a fully electronic suspension, luckily, so I'm used to that. Very good low-speed handling. The front brakes really bite. And I stalled it. Not used to the clutch quite yet. I've only used it like 3 times on this ride, so literally still getting used to it. Every engagement zone's a little bit different, and it takes some experience to get it into muscle memory. So if you're demo riding a bike, don't feel bad if you stall it. It's completely normal if it's different than your bike. Usually within a family, they're going to be pretty similar. Like I can ride pretty much any Yamaha and not even have to think about it. It's automatic in my head. But you go very different and things change. Dashboard is extremely easy to read. I love the sweep tachometer. I absolutely love analog gauges. The digitals they're pretty cheap looking, however, they are easy to read. They look like the old Timex watch kind of thing. The speedometer readout is integrated into the corner there of the tachometer. It's large enough, and the gear indicator is the same size. Those are pretty much the only 3 things I need or want to look at when I'm riding down the road. If I'm changing a setting, sure, I'll look at the other stuff. Looks like a trip odometer and some other info I'm not even looking at, and then a mode display there underneath the speed readout. Now it's got a big shift light, and I imagine that's programmable and changeable in the mode. That's right here. And I was seeing that flash out of the corner of my eye when I did that speed run earlier. So it lets you know, hey, you're coming up to the red line. I'll tell you, it is a little difficult to hear the engine when you're at speed like that. It was very smooth, and even though it's got a bite here, when I'm giving it gas under load, when you're actually going through the gears, it's really quiet, even though it's got this aftermarket pipe on it. It's just not that much sound coming out of it. It's more of a whoosh. You hear the intake, you hear the engine, but it's quiet. It's smooth. Oh, so I'm still using the clutch. Get out of that habit. When it does shift, it's like a freaking video game. I do not feel the bike move at all. I don't hear the engine blip at all. What it does when you have a quick shifter is it momentarily, imperceptibly cuts off power. And that's possible because you have a ride-by-wire throttle. And then it actuates the shifter physically and then brings the power back on. So without power going to the engine and the drivetrain, you don't need the clutch. The gears will shift into position without any damage. So that's what the quick shifters do for you. And obviously it's called a quick shifter because it's so quick, you know. As soon as you tap that shifter down, 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 it's done. There's no pull the clutch in, up, pull the clutch in, up. You know, it's like 4 or 5 times quicker to actually change gears. I could get used to a quick shifter, let me tell you what. Is it necessary, especially for an around the town bike, or just something to have fun on? No, absolutely not. I wouldn't pay extra for it. But if it came stock, yeah, I could get used to it. It's not going to do you any good if you're in stop and go traffic like this. You're still going to have to go between first and neutral on your own. Now going between first and second here at low speeds, it it herks and jerks. And I have to say the throttle response is pretty jerky. It doesn't feel like the fueling, at least here in road mode, is set up well for real low RPM. So I don't know if this would be something that would be good for just tootling around town, if you're doing low speeds or if you're doing stop and go traffic. If you're used to something where you can just putz around, this is a top end bike, all right? It's burbling, it's bouncing. It's a smooth response as far as there's no jerk from moving the throttle. But down there below 20 miles an hour, that engine really does not like to be down there, you know what I mean? And if you leave it first, it gets a little too responsive. So just bear that in mind. This is a bike that likes to be going. Love the seat. I was afraid that it was going to be crushing my nuts into the tank because of the forward sweep, but it's not. It's planting very well. It's actually pretty wide on my butt, so it's holding me in place and it's comfortable. It's got perfect amount of padding that I can detect. I do not feel anything back there. That combined with the really plush suspension, I would believe this would be an excellent long distance bike if that's something you want to do. And I want to say I saw some hard points for bags on this. It wouldn't shock me if you could bag it up kind of like the RS. It's got the room and the power for it, that's for darn sure. I'll tell you, with this quick shifter being able to downshift like this, I would definitely want to put something like the Volo lights that I've got on my FJR so that people know I'm decelerating. That's the accelerometer brake light system. The one I've got on the FJR goes around the license plate, but they also have one that ties into your stock brake system, so you can just have the stock brake light come on, and that happens when you decelerate without using the brake, like I was doing there. You know, you downshift and you brake really quickly. Cars don't know it unless they can look at you for a couple seconds and realize it in their brain that you're decelerating because there's no brake light. But with the Volo lights or other systems like it, you get that visual warning and you don't have to worry about it because your hand's not on the brake. Let's have some fun down here in third. Real nice exhaust note when you get on it. I do like that. It's more of a growl. There's no thump, there's no scream. It's low pitched. I'm not a fan of the little hamster engines, especially when the kids hit the rev limiter with them. I have no idea why anyone thinks that's cool. I think it sounds like shit. This sounds nice. It sounds mean and refined. I think mean is definitely the first word that comes to mind when I hear this. Especially in top gear and you get on it here under power. It's a throaty but airy sound at the same time. Alright guys, that's it for this test ride. Hopefully I'm going to do some more here. See what else I got. But great bike, not what I'm looking for exactly, but I'm very glad I test rode it. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up and we'll see you next time.